Hey there, movie lovers. Welcome back to Fade to Fact. Today, we're diving into one of the funniest parodies of the 1992nd Robin Hood, Men in Tights, 1993. Directed by comedy legend Mel Brooks, this film takes the Robin Hood legend and flips it upside down with slapstick humor, musical numbers, and that trademark Brooks touch. If you ever thought Kevin Costner's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, needed more fart jokes and songs about tights, Mel Brooks had the same idea. When it hit theaters in 1993, the movie wasn't a huge box office smash, and critics weren't exactly kind. But over the years, it found new life as a cult classic. Fans still quote its lines, sing its theme song, and laugh at its fearless fourth-wall breaks. Like most Mel Brooks comedies, it only gets better the more you re-watch, as you notice the hidden jokes and callbacks to earlier films like Blazing Saddles and Spaceballs. And the cast? Pure gold. Cary Elwes, just after The Princess Bride, brings perfect charm as Robin. A young Dave Chappelle makes his film debut as Achu, while Richard Lewis, Amy Yasbeck, and Tracy Ullman add their own comedic brilliance. And of course, Brooks himself shows up as Rabbi Tuckman because why wouldn't he? So grab your bow, lace up those tights, and get ready to laugh your way through Sherwood Forest. Because today, we're revealing 20 things you never knew about Robin Hood. Men in Tights. 1. A direct parody of Prince of Thieves. While there have been countless Robin Hood adaptations through the decades, Mel Brooks aimed his arrows squarely at Robin Hood. Prince of Thieves, 1991. Kevin Costner's film was a global blockbuster, filled with drama, romance, and big-budget action sequences, but it also had plenty of unintentional silliness. Brooks saw the perfect opportunity to lampoon everything audiences had just seen, from the overly dramatic tone to Costner's infamous lack of a British accent. By releasing Men in Tights only 2 years later, Brooks ensured that audiences would immediately get the jokes, since the memory of Costner's film was still fresh. The result was a parody that felt timely, sharp, and unmistakably Brooks. 2. Cary Elwes. Turned down Prince of Thieves first. Cary Elwes, who shines as Robin Hood in Men in Tights, was actually offered the chance to play the same role in Prince of Thieves. He turned it down, reportedly uninterested in playing such a grim and humorless version of the outlaw. Ironically, just a couple years later, he ended up donning the tights anyway, this time with Mel Brooks encouraging him to go as silly and self-aware as possible. His version of Robin winks at the audience, pokes fun at Hollywood heroes, and leans into the idea that Robin Hood should be fun, not brooding. Elwes's charm and comedic timing helped solidify him as the ultimate parody version of the character. 3. Mel Brooks steps into the film himself. As with most of his movies, Brooks couldn't resist stepping in front of the camera, this time as Rabbi Tuckman. The character is a walking bundle of jokes, loaded with puns, exaggerated gags, and a wink at Brooks's own Jewish heritage. Longtime fans expected no less, since Brooks often made cameos in his films like Blazing Saddles and Spaceballs. Here, though, he took things even further, relishing in outrageous one-liners and sight gags that left audiences either laughing uncontrollably or blushing at the sheer audacity. Rabbi Tuckman quickly became one of the most memorable characters in the film, proving Brooks still knew how to steal the show. 4. Dave Chappelle's big screen debut. Before he became one of the biggest names in comedy, Dave Chappelle was a young stand-up just starting to make waves. Men in Tights gave him his very first feature film role as Aku, Robin's quick-witted sidekick. Chappelle brought a modern, streetwise energy to the film that clashed hilariously with the medieval setting, making his character stand out in nearly every scene. His sharp comedic instincts and natural screen presence made it clear he was destined for bigger things. Looking back today, fans love seeing the seeds of his future career planted in a goofy Mel Brooks parody, making it a fun piece of comedy history. 5. Richard Lewis as a hypochondriac prince. Casting Richard Lewis as Prince John was a stroke of comedy brilliance. Known for his neurotic stand-up style and anxious persona, Lewis fit perfectly as the whiny, insecure ruler of England. Instead of the typical power-hungry villain, Prince John is a bundle of nerves who constantly complains about his health and frets about trivial matters. Mel Brooks basically told Lewis to play himself only in royal garb and with a crown, and the result is a villain who's more pathetic than menacing. The choice turned Prince John into one of the funniest and most unusual antagonists in the Robin Hood canon. 6. the legendary theme song. One of the most unforgettable elements of the film is its outrageous title track, Men in Tights. The number explodes onto the screen with campy choreography, synchronized dancing, and men proudly singing about, well, their tights. It's a moment of pure Brooksian madness that sets the tone for the rest of the movie. The song has lived on far beyond the film, resurfacing as a meme and a fan favorite at screenings. To this day, it remains one of the funniest musical introductions in any parody film, and it perfectly captures the irreverence of Brooks's style. 7. The accent joke was a direct shot at Kevin Costner. One of the sharpest and most biting jokes comes when Robin boldly declares, "Unlike some other Robin Hoods, I can speak with an English accent." Cary Elwes delivers the line with a smirk that makes the jab crystal clear. This was a direct shot at Kevin Costner, who was heavily criticized for not even attempting a British accent in Prince of Thieves. Audiences at the time immediately recognized the reference and laughed out loud at how blunt the insult was. It became one of the most talked-about jokes in the movie, cementing Men in Tights as a parody that wasn't afraid to go straight for the jugular. 8. Tracey Ullman almost stole the show. Comedian Tracey Ullman played Latrine, the eccentric witch and fortune-teller who advises Prince John. Brooks gave her free rein to improvise, and she turned the character into a bizarre, scene-stealing creation with grotesque makeup, manic energy, and hilariously odd-line deliveries. Even her name became a joke. Latrine was changed from shithouse in the script, with the character proudly noting it was a good change. Ullman's performance was so unhinged that fellow cast members often broke character from laughing, forcing retakes. She turned what could have been a small side character into one of the funniest parts of the movie. 9. A callback to Blazing Saddles. Mel Brooks has always loved rewarding his loyal fans with inside jokes, and Men in Tights is no exception. The movie is packed with winks and nods to his earlier work, including a sequence where the merry men march and chant in formation, echoing a gag from Blazing Saddles. These callbacks weren't just lazy recycling. They were Easter eggs designed to create a sense of continuity across Brooks's comedies. For audiences who knew his filmography, catching these references felt like being in on a secret. It reminded fans that they were part of a long-running tradition of Brooks' cinematic silliness. 10. A cult classic, not a critical darling. When Men in Tights was released in 1993, critics weren't exactly kind. Many dismissed it as Brooks repeating old tricks, claiming the parody formula had lost its spark. At the box office, it wasn't a huge hit either, but over time, the film found its audience, especially among kids and teens who discovered it on VHS or cable reruns. They embraced its silliness, quoted its lines endlessly, and kept the memory alive well into adulthood. Today, the film is considered a nostalgic cult favorite, not the biggest Brooks success, but one of his most rewatchable and endlessly entertaining comedies. 11. A young Patrick Stewart parodies Sean Connery. The film ends with King Richard making a grand entrance, and the role went to none other than Patrick Stewart. At the time, Stewart was best known as Captain Picard in Star Trek: The Next Generation, so seeing him dressed in medieval royal robes was already a gag. But here's the kicker: his entire performance is a parody of Sean Connery's cameo as King Richard in Prince of Thieves. Stewart exaggerated the Scottish brogue and leaned into the pompous delivery, creating a final joke that audiences immediately recognized. It's a reminder that even the smallest roles in Brooks's films were designed to squeeze out big laughs. 12. The Sheriff of Rottingham was pure slapstick. Roger Rees played the Sheriff of Rottingham, and his over-the-top performance turned the villain into a buffoon rather than a threat. Rees embraced pratfalls, flustered line deliveries, and moments of wild physical comedy, making the sheriff both ridiculous and oddly lovable. His name itself was a gag, Rottingham being an absurd twist on Nottingham. The character's incompetence fit perfectly into Brooks' world, ensuring the bad guys were as funny, if not funnier, than the heroes. For many fans, Rees's sheriff was one of the film's true comic gems. 13. The breaking of the fourth wall. Like most Mel Brooks movies, Men in Tights doesn't just tell jokes, it bends the rules of filmmaking itself. Characters regularly break the fourth wall, commenting directly on the audience, the script, or even the director's choices. In one memorable scene, Robin literally pulls out the script to prove his point. These meta-jokes became a Brooks trademark, creating a sense that the movie itself was in on the parody. It reminded audiences that they weren't just watching a comedy, they were watching a movie that was making fun of movies. 14. An unexpected Disney connection. Surprisingly, the film shares some DNA with Disney. Amy Yazbek, who played Maid Marian, later went on to appear in family-friendly Disney projects, and Cary Elwes himself would later voice characters in animated productions. Even more amusing is how the exaggerated fairy tale vibe of Men in Tights almost feels like a twisted cousin of a Disney musical. With its big songs, whimsical costumes, and exaggerated villains, the movie could almost be mistaken for a Disney spoof, and in many ways, that's exactly what it is. 15. A script packed with puns. Brooks's comedies are famous for their wordplay, and Men in Tights might be one of his punniest films. From character names like Latrine and Achu to rapid-fire one-liners that fly so fast you might miss them, the script is layered with verbal gags. Some of the puns are groan-worthy on purpose, playing into Brooks's love of dad jokes. Others are clever references to pop culture and history. The sheer density of jokes ensures that even if one gag doesn't land, the next one comes so quickly that audiences barely have time to recover. 16. The fight scenes were choreographed like dances. While the sword fights look chaotic, they were carefully choreographed to emphasize comedy over realism. Stunt coordinators designed the fights almost like slapstick routines, mixing in pratfalls, exaggerated swipes, and moments where the characters seem more interested in posing than fighting. In one sequence, the merry men break into synchronized swordplay that looks more like a Broadway number than a battle. Brooks knew that the audience didn't want gritty realism, they wanted laughs, and the fight scenes delivered. 17. A nod to Spaceballs fans. Brooks slipped in a wink to his sci-fi fans as well. At one point, a guard utters the line, "It worked in Spaceballs," a direct callback to Brooks' 1987 Star Wars parody. This kind of cross-referencing tied Brooks's cinematic universe together, giving fans of his earlier hits a little Easter egg to cheer for. It also reinforced Brooks's playful approach to genre, no matter if it was science fiction, westerns, or medieval legends. Nothing was safe from parody. 18. The film was shot quickly and cheaply. Compared to the big-budget epic Prince of Thieves, Men in Tights was produced on a modest budget and a tight schedule. Brooks shot much of the movie in California, using sets and outdoor locations that could double as Sherwood Forest. The smaller budget didn't hold him back, if anything. It added to the charm, with intentionally cheesy sets and props that only heightened the parody. Instead of epic realism, Brooks leaned into silliness, proving you don't need millions to make audiences laugh. 19. Mixed reviews but lasting popularity. Upon release, the movie was met with lukewarm reviews, with critics saying Brooks's brand of parody was running out of steam. But audiences, especially younger viewers, embraced it. It became a regular feature on VHS rental shelves and cable reruns, where it found a second life. For many 90-second kids, Men in Tights was their introduction to Mel Brooks, and they grew up quoting it. Decades later, it remains one of his most beloved films, proving that sometimes the audience has the final say. 20. The Legacy of Men in Tights. Though not Brooks's biggest hit, the film has left a surprisingly strong legacy. It introduced Dave Chappelle to the world, gave Cary Elwes another iconic comedic role, and proved that parody films still had an audience in the 1992nd. Its jokes, songs, and characters are still shared online today, from memes to nostalgic fan posts. And for many, it stands as the definitive Robin Hood comedy, a film that dared to poke fun at Hollywood at a time when most studios were taking themselves far too seriously. In true Brooks fashion, it turned medieval legend into pure comedic chaos, and that's why fans are still laughing 30 years later. And there you have it, Robin Hood. Men in Tights may not have conquered the box office, but it's carved out a special place in comedy history. Mel Brooks once again proved that no genre was safe from his sharp wit, and by poking fun at one of Hollywood's biggest blockbusters, he gave audiences something lighter, sillier, and endlessly quotable. From Cary Elwes's charming take on Robin, to Dave Chappelle's film debut, to that unforgettable Men in Tights song, the film stitched together a collection of gags that fans are still celebrating decades later. It might not have won over the critics, but like so many Brooks comedies, it grew into a cult classic that keeps finding new fans every generation. In a way, Men in Tights is the perfect reminder that sometimes the best way to honor a legend is to laugh at it. Thanks for watching Fade to Fact. If you enjoyed this trip through Sherwood Forest, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time as we uncover more behind-the-scenes secrets from the movies you love.